All right, so I'm going to run a setup for one machine. I want you to do it for the one machine, and then I want you to go ahead and do your second machine the exact same way if you're running the two machine configuration. So I'm on the Windows 10 Enterprise. This is Frank Castle's machine, the Punisher, and we're going to go ahead and join this to the domain. So before we do that, I do want to go ahead and go to our PC. So go to this PC, go to your C drive, and then go ahead and just right click, new folder, and we're just going to call this share. And we're going to make a fake share here. Well, it's going to be a real share, but we're not going to really use it. And we're just going to right click on it. We're going to select properties. And then we're going to go to sharing. We're going to say share right here. And then we're going to share everything. And then say yes, turn on network discovery and file sharing for all public networks. And done. And now we are sharing on this machine. So we can go ahead and close that out. Now on top of this, we're going to go ahead and join this to the domain. So let's go ahead and first go to our domain controller. And let's grab our IP address. So let's go do a command prompt here. And we're just going to say ipconfig. And our IP address is 192.168.57.140. So 57.140. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to this machine. And now let's right click on this access down here on the internet access and say open network and internet settings. Down here you should see change adapter options. Go ahead and select that. And then we have Ethernet 0 right here. Go ahead and right click this and select properties. And then we're going to go ahead and double click on this IPv4. And it should bring up a screen that looks like this. We're going to leave obtain an IP address automatically. This is DHCP. That's absolutely okay. Here on the DNS, we're going to do something like this. We're going to say 192, if I can type, 192.168.57.140. So we want the IP address of the domain controller here because we need to get DNS from that. Go ahead and say okay. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to say domain. And it should say access, work, or school. Go ahead and select that. And we're going to say connect. And then it's going to bring this up, set up a work or school account. Down here, say join this device to a local Active Directory domain. And now it's going to say domain name. What are we going to join? Well, we're joining marvel.local. Okay. Now it's going to say, who do you want to join as? Well, let's go ahead and just say administrator. And then we're going to go ahead and say our password, which we set way back in the beginning. And now we are good to go. We're going to skip this feature here. And then we need to restart. So let's go ahead and restart now. And so this is going to reboot. When it reboots, you're going to need to log in as your user. So how I've set up this domain is this user is going to be Frank Castle. So F Castle is going to log into the Punisher. The other user you saw me create was Peter Parker or P Parker. And I am making a machine called Spider-Man. So we're going to be able to have Spider-Man and we're going to have the Punisher as two machines. So I'm going to go ahead and log into this now. Instead of being Frank Castle, this is a local account. We're going to go ahead and do F Castle like this. And we're going to say password 1, which is what we used before. Log in here. And it should log us in as this user. Now, it might take a second to get everything ready. And there's going to be one other setting that we're going to do on this computer specifically. And then there's going to be one setting on the other machine that we're going to want to do as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the brakes here. And we're going to let this finish. And once it finishes, we're going to go ahead. Actually, here it is. So let's go ahead and make these setting changes real quick. Now you can see that we are actually logged in as F Castle. We've successfully done that. Great. So let's go ahead now and let's sign out. And let's sign in as the administrator because I do want to make a couple changes here. So let's go ahead and say administrator. And let's go ahead And we got to do marvel/administrator like that. And we'll do password as we set it, log into this computer, and it might take a second again. What we're going to do is we're going to enable Frank Castle to be a local administrator on this machine. So we want to set that up. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to navigate over to Spider-Man's machine, and we're going to set Frank Castle to be a local administrator there. There is a special attack that we want to do, actually 2 special attacks that we want to do that involve the usage of local administrators on multiple machines. So let's go ahead and come into here, and we're going to go into right click, or actually we could do right click in computer management. And this should bring up our settings for local administrators. Okay, and then we come local users and groups in here. We've got groups. Go ahead and double click administrators. And then we're going to go ahead and add a couple users. So we're going to add, well, we'll just add fcastle on this. So check names, fcastle is good, and then we're going to apply and say okay. And we're good here. So let's go ahead and stop here. We'll go ahead and get your other machine set up completely as you need to. Log in as the administrator on your other machine and meet me over there. We're going to set up Frank Castle and Peter Parker as administrators there as well. Okay, now on to Peter Parker's machine. Same deal here. So if we go into administrators, I've made Peter Parker an administrator of his own machine, and I've also made Frank Castle an administrator of Peter Parker's machine. So however you set this up, make sure that you have a user that is on domain admin, or an admin I should say, on 2 machines, local administrator on 2 machines. And you have a user who is an administrator on their machine on both. So Frank's an administrator on his own machine, Peter's an administrator on his own machine, and then Frank has administrator access on both machines. All right, and also make sure you set up everything the same. This also has a share in it. It has the share here, and we're domain joined. Last thing I want to point out. So let's go over to Windows Server, and I'm going to log back in. And then let's take a look at what our Active Directory looks like now. So we come into here, and let's go ahead and go into our users and groups. And let's look at our computers here. We might have to refresh up top. And then you can see now Spider-Man and the Punisher have been joined to this domain. They showed up in our OU here, and we know that we have successfully joined these to the domain. Everything is set up the way we want it to be. Now we can move on to the attacking phase where we start attacking all these things. And notice we only made a few changes, right? We did turn off Windows Defender, but for the most part, we've got normal default settings for pretty much everything. We added some file shares to just emulate a network, and we set up a service. That's pretty common as well. So far, besides turning off Defender, everything is pretty common across the board for how you would see an Active Directory network set up. So from here, we're going to exploit these settings, these almost default configurations, and really just own this network all over the place. So let's see how we can do that, and I'll catch you over in the attack vectors video.